I'm cool with plus minus. I'm cool with plus minus. When there's a root, you can combine them like that. If I had an answer of a positive 6 and a negative 6, I'd have to write it separately. But when there's a root, you can do that. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at number 2. Number 2 has a teacher trick. Nobody's fallen for that. Everybody knows it has to be set equal to 0. So we got to move that negative 10 over. So this is going to be x to the 5th minus 7x to the 3rd plus 10x equals 0. So it looks like the degree for number 2 is, Bryce, what is it?
5.
Yes, good job. So we're going to write 5.
X out there?
Yeah, you're ahead of me though. But he's right. There's a GCF of the x. So let's take an x out. So that's going to be x to the 4th minus 7x squared plus 10, and that's going to equal 0. Guys, let's see if it's factorable. Are there numbers that multiply to a 10 that combine to make a negative 7? Yeah, negative 5 and negative 2. Good. So let's divvy up those x's equally. Remember there were 4 of them, so you have to make 2 groups of 2. And then drop in your negative 5 and your negative 2. Let's start writing some answers. First of all, we took out a single x. What does it mean when you take out a single x? Yes. All right, let's solve these roots. We're going to get some roots here. So this is x squared minus 5 equals 0. X squared minus 2 equals 0. Move the 5 over. Move the 2 over. And then remember, I can only square root when there's a single term on both sides. And there is. Square root, square root, square root, square root. Remember, when you draw the square root symbol, you also have to draw the plus minus. You have a degree of 5. You got all 5 of your answers. So we're good. Any questions on this? All right, number 3. Y'all, number 3 is when you're going to have to force it to be factorable. So let's take a look at number 3. Bryce, when the degrees are separated between parentheses like that, you just take the highest degree of the first one plus the highest degree of the second one. So that has a degree of 1. The highest degree there is a 2, so the degree is 3. Okay, so number 3, guys, we already know one answer. What's one answer that we already know? Negative 3, awesome. All right, let's talk about this. If I try to factor this trinomial, there are not any numbers that multiply to make a negative 6 but add to a 4, so you're stuck. So I don't like that negative 6. I'm going to change it. So let's talk about this 4. Remember that 4 came from that b value right there. Cut 4 in half. What's half of 4?
2.
So I want these to be 2's. Y'all, what's 2 plus 2? Good. What's 2 times 2? That's going to be the magic number. That's what we're going to pull out of thin air and add to both sides. All right. So x squared plus 4x plus that number right there equals. Y'all remember that negative 6 was in the way. You got to move it. So it's going to be that negative 6 is now a positive 6 right there. And remember, I pulled that 4 out of thin air. I have to keep the equation balanced. If I put a 4 here, I got to put a 4 there. It's completing this one. Okay, all right, guys, so what is this factor to? It factors to x plus 2 twice. both of the factors are the same. And remember, 6 plus 4 is 10.
What are the two x plus 2?
This factors to that. I hope you come back and just stay. Yeah. All right. Yep. Now you got a single term. Now you can square root. Don't forget to write the plus minus. Guys, you're almost done. All you got to do is move this 2 over. X is going to equal negative 2 plus or minus root 10. I'm going to recopy that over here. I had a degree of 3, which means I have to have 3 answers. I do. Remember, that counts as 2 answers. There's your third one. Remember, guys, if it doesn't factor, you have to force it. If it doesn't factor, you have to force it. And those sideways numbers have to be the same number. We're almost done. Number 4, last one of the day. Okay, given that x plus 3 is a factor of that polynomial, find all solutions to the equation. Well, when we look at this, we know the equation has a degree of 3. So I'm going to write 3 degrees over here. And guys, don't write this down. After you write 3 degrees, just watch. I'm going to try to factor by grouping, because that's what my teacher told me to do, which is right. If you have 4 terms, you need to try to factor by grouping first. So right here, this group, all I can take out is x squared. So that's going to be x minus 3. Over here, I know I got to take out a negative. And that's all you can take out of the other group is a negative 1. So that would be a positive 11x minus 21. What's wrong with that picture?
It's not the same.
They don't match, that's right. Which means you can't factor. It's impossible to factor. So, you got to listen. If I give you something where it's not factorable, I have to give you a little hint. I have to throw you a bone. And this is it. Given x plus 3 is a factor of this, I have to find all solutions. And that's code. That's a secret code for doing synthetic division. I am not telling you that you have to do synthetic division on a test or a quiz. When you see these words, given blah, blah, blah is a factor, that is code word for synthetic division, y'all. Please write that down. That means we have to do synthetic division. That's why y'all learn synthetic division for this. Okay, let's draw an upside down division box. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop a negative 3 in here. And then we're going to list these coefficients, no placeholders needed. Now remember, that's a factor. If that's a factor, are you going to have a remainder? No. Good. So guys, go ahead and put a 0 here. And I accidentally made a mistake, y'all. That 21's positive. I accidentally wrote a negative. Make sure you don't make the mistake like I did. Alright, bring down the first number. Multiply. Negative 3 times the 1 is a negative 3. Bring it straight down. That's going to be a negative 6. And negative 3 times a negative 6 is going to be a positive. Bring down the number. And then negative 3 times a positive 7 is a negative 21. Great. No remainder. So, remember, we started out with a degree of 3, which means this starts with a degree of 2. So this is going to be x squared minus 6x plus 7. And that's great, but I need to know the solutions. So, Now I'm going to draw my graphic organizer. I'm going to put my B at the top. And then, are there any numbers that multiply to a 7 that add to a negative 6? A 7 and a negative 7 and a positive 1, you're right, but what's a negative 7 times a 1?
It's -7.
Yeah, we need it to be a positive 7. There's none. There's none. So look, when you cannot factor it, what you have to do is you have to force it. So guys, what numbers go here that are exactly the same that combine to make a negative 6? What would go here? Negative 3, good job. What's negative 3 times negative 3?
9.
That's what we're missing. That's what we're going to pull out of thin air. All right, so here we go. X squared minus 6x, that 7's in the way, plus 9 equals negative 7 plus 9. Y'all, what is this side factor to?
Nothing.
No, there's not. But is it factorable?
Yes.
What are the factors? They're right here. They're staring at you in the face. That's why we wrote that. You have this factors to x minus 3, x minus 3. So write x minus 3 with an exponent. Square root both sides, move the 3 over. Done. So we're going to square root both sides. We're going to get x minus 3 equals a positive negative root 2. Move the 3 over. All right, so we're going to have an answer. X equals 3 plus or minus the square root of 2. Hold on. Something's wrong. We have a degree of 3. That only counts as 2 answers. What's missing?
X plus 3.
That factor, yes. What's the 0 for that? Negative 3. Yeah, good job. And that's the answers for these.